Hi everyone, in this video we are going to go over questions 23 to 25 of the Green booklet, which is also called Practice Test. Please note I'm using the second edition, and as always, please email me or go to the website if you have any more questions. Okay, question 23. Please read the introduction and read the notes. Students always miss this, which is fair enough. There's a lot to read and everyone just goes straight to the table. This question becomes very easy once you read the note. So 23, the costings used in the basket of goods approach are ideal in that they. So let's have a look. What is included in the basket? And you can get this from the note. So it says included are food and clothing, fuel, household provisions, school, not fees, gifts, pocket money, and entertainment. Okay, so that's what's in the basket, and this is considered ideal. So why is it considered ideal? Number one, A, more accurate than most. That's irrelevant. I don't even really understand what that is even saying. So irrelevant, knock it out. B, low enough to be within the reach of most families. So as in the stuff in the basket is accessible enough that most families can afford it, which kind of makes sense until you see that pocket money is included in the basket. Why would, and also entertainment. If it's meant to be accessible to every family, it doesn't quite make sense to put things like pocket money in there because not every family does pocket money or not every family can afford to give their children pocket money. Therefore, it is not low enough to be within the reach of most families. C, based on certain assumptions about the nature of parents' expenses. Yes, that is correct because it's making assumptions that, you know, about the cost of food and clothing and how much food or clothing parents are going to spend or how much pocket money they're going to give their children, how much they're going to pay for entertainment or gifts, things like that. So that's why it's correct. And then D, based on the assumptions that expenditure is based on personal preference. No, because it's telling you this is the stuff in the basket, but also everything in the basket is quite standard. Like there's nothing really that's popping out saying, oh, that's a bit weird. Why is that in the basket? And if you keep reading the note, it says not included are housing, transport, school fees, uniforms, childcare, medical or dental expenses. And then holidays are only the middle income figures only. So, you know, personal preference, which would go into things like what house do you want? How do you drive? Do you have a car? Do you catch the bus? How many holidays do you go on? That's not stuff that's in the basket. Okay, so that is why the answer is C. Question 24. Which one of the following is the most likely method for updating the figures in the table to reflect price changes? So most likely, really key here, most likely. Okay, so what has happened is that these researchers have done this study in 1993, and they have found all these results. Then we fast forward to, say, 2005, and the researchers decide, let's update these figures in the table to reflect the cost of living in 2025. What's the most likely way that they're going to do that? So A, gather data on actual expenditure patterns. Wrong, because we're interested in price changes. The question says updating the figure in the table to reflect price changes. Basically, they want to know in 1993, the cost of bread was, say, $1. What is the cost of bread now? And how can we update the figures to then update that basket of goods appropriately? They're interested in the price changes, not in the changes to expenditure. Now, it may be that in 2025, people are spending less money on things like entertainment or gifts or pocket money, and they're spending more money on fuel and household provisions. So the pattern of expenditure has changed, but that's not what the question is asking us to do. Okay. Now, D, which is also wrong, says revising the contents of the basket of goods to reflect new consumption patterns. Again, what are we updating? We're updating the pattern, or we updating the price changes? So that's also wrong. So I want to point out that A and D are probably very, very good research questions and are probably very good ideas for, researchers in 2025 to pursue these questions. This is probably a very interesting thing that they could do to update this work. But the question is asking about price changes. It is not asking about expenditure patterns, and it is not asking about consumption patterns. Lots of students get this one wrong because they misread the question. Okay, so now we're looking at B or C. So B is apply mathematical formulae to the consumer price index, and C is um, updating the basket of goods. So what are we updating? Are we updating the price or the contents of the basket? We're updating the price. We care about the price of things. Like I said, what was the cost of bread in 1993? What is the cost of bread now? What was the average cost of the basket of goods in 1993? What is it now? We care about the price changes, so therefore the answer has to be B. Whereas C is saying updated version of the basket of goods. So that would be, why don't we change the basket, change it so that we have different things in here. So, take out gifts, take out pocket money, take out entertainment, replace it with subscriptions, replace it with phone costs, uh, take out cost of schooling and replace it with something else. We're not updating the contents of the basket, we're updating the price changes. Now, the other thing is it says most likely. Which of these four is the easiest thing to do? The easiest thing to do is B. You take your big Excel spreadsheet. I don't even know if they had Excel in 1993. I'm going to assume they did. You take your big Excel spreadsheet from 1993, you times it by some mathematical formula, and then you get your 2025 Excel spreadsheet, and then you can draw your results from that. That is the easiest thing to do, much easier than going out and getting more data, much easier than changing the actual basket itself. And the question says most likely. So just use a bit of logic there to also see how you can get to answer option B as well. Question 25. The table assumes people on middle incomes are more likely than people on low incomes who. So if you actually look at the table, what you can see if you compare it. So let's say the age of the child is 2 years. The middle income family per year is spending $1,511. And then the low income family, then the middle income family is spending 2,273. Now, again, when we look at that 2 years, 5 years, 8 years, 11 years, 12 years, don't get stuck in the detail. Just have a rough look at the numbers. Is the middle income family spending, let's say, maybe roughly twice what? Maybe 75%, increasing it by 75%, let's say, um, between the two, right? So high middle income families are spending about 75% more than low income families. That's kind of all you need to know. So how do we get there? So A, buy higher priced goods. Yes, that kind of makes sense. If the middle income family is spending 75% more than low income families, the only way that they can do that, if you're only buying what's in the basket, is to spend more money, buy higher priced goods. So they're buying higher priced groceries, they're buying higher priced clothes. For entertainment, they might be going out multiple times to see movies rather than, renting, because it was 1993, like renting a DVD at home. They're buying higher priced goods, which is how the answer is A. B, stay within their budget. That's an assumption, which we can't make. C, meet their family's needs. So this is wrong, and this is one that students often get wrong, is because look at the basket itself. What were the contents? Food, clothing, fuel, household, school stuff, gifts, pocket money, entertainment. if a low-income family is meeting the things in the basket, then by definition, they're meeting their family's needs. There's nothing really in that basket that is not like standard um, needs for the family. They're buying food, they're buying clothes, they're buying fuel, they're buying household provisions, which would cover things like electricity and water. They're even going over because they're buying gifts, pocket money, and entertainment. So, kind of by definition, they have to meet their family's needs. Um, and then D, incur unforeseen expenses. That is an assumption that we can't make. And if I was to make an assumption, then I would probably assume that low income families generally tend to incur unforeseen expenses, which is something that we know happens because, for example, a low income family might be driving like an older car, and then that car might be more susceptible to having problems with it and therefore needing parts replaced. Whereas a middle income family might be driving a newer car, which is less likely to break down. So D is an assumption, but even if I was to make an assumption, I would still land that it's probably more on the low income family side rather than the middle income family. So hopefully that helped. And I also hope it showed you that you don't actually need to look at the table. The only thing you had to do to look at the table was see what are the middle income families spending. And in about 2 seconds, you could see, okay, they're roughly double or 75% more. Good, done, move on. All you really had to do was read the stuff at the beginning and the note and then go from there. So don't get caught up with all the numbers, just go to the questions and it should all work out from there. Okay, hopefully that helped, and I'll see you in the next video.